I think you guys have more of a routine than me. I pack my bag the night before, I lay my clothes out. That's it. So I wake up, shower, brush my teeth.
Get dressed and go.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Sleep naked so that like I don't have to pack those clothes back into the bag.
That's so smart.
No, it saves a bunch of time, because
yeah.
the suitcase is so packed that like so I sit on the suitcase.
Oh, me too.
I
to
straddle
close
my
it.
suitcase
Yeah.
You
zip
do that-
under my leg.
You do that naked as well, because the
Yeah. Well, I
Don't touch Nick's bag.
No, I don't like roll over the suitcase and like make a whole thing of it.
I can't do no small talk, no small talk. I'm not with the small talk. Can't be with the small talk.
Saturday afternoon, we are in the middle of the bush on the 5 Drive Heritage Tour. This is the 7th Heritage Tour. Myself, Nick Hammond, Nadia Romanos, Yunaka Tseledi, Jude van Veek, 5 Drive team. We're all very tired. So I think we're gonna be as excited as we possibly can. But this is the most requested thing that we've ever had on the tour, is to do one of these like unscripted behind the scenes, what really goes on, what do we like about the tour, what are the hardest elements of it, what are some of the scariest situations we've been in. So we asked for questions, which I've been sent. The team hasn't seen them. I have barely glanced through them. Do you guys just want to do it like this? I'll read through the questions
Yeah.
and we answer them as we go.
Whew.
Okay. So the first question, I think this is for me, it's why did the tour start? So in 2017, there was this feeling that every month is Heritage Month, but like, so what? You know, there's no real exciting thing that was happening. It was just a calendar event, political stuff would happen, the government makes a speech and people cut ribbons and like a statue gets unveiled. And it felt like a bit lame and bland. And so we thought, well, we're a 5FM, we're a national station, why don't we actually go and see the country, like meet everybody and get on the road and go and discover it. But we didn't realize that something like that actually takes a tremendous amount of planning. So the first tour, I think, was just, it was this highly ambitious, never been done before on radio kind of a idea. And it didn't work because of what we were doing, it worked because of how people reacted to it. Like as soon as we'd go to a small town, someone would come to us and be like, I can't believe 5FM's in my city. This is crazy. I listen to you every day and I had no idea like you would ever be here. You know what I mean? You go like to Carnarvon in the Karoo, or you go to the Eastern Cape and you hear about a story about a woman who's there like raising a family by herself, and she's also started this like organic farm in her back garden or whatever. And then you go, oh my God, this story would never have been on radio unless we went and found it. And then from there, the tour just like grew and grew and grew, and its purpose then became defined after the fact, which was to go out and write a love letter to South Africa.
I have a question for you. Like, what are the major differences from the first one to maybe like last year's one?
There was no budget in the beginning because there was no sponsors. So we had to, everything was negotiated, like all the accommodation was negotiated on social media, which we do ahead of time. And also sometimes because the routes like you'd get to an area and technology was 7 years behind what it is now. So you realize you couldn't do the show. So we'd have to like record things on the fly and like get into the car and drive and listen back to the radio that we just recorded and sent back to studio so that we could get to like a better signal area. And then we would continue the show from there. Or like there was times that we slept on people's floors, like people on Instagram that invited us to stay at their house. I'd go onto Insta or Twitter and be like, anyone know of somewhere cool to stay in Pretoria? But actually being like, in my head, I was like, we have nowhere to stay. I hope someone replies. And we did a few times. We like stayed in people's houses and slept on floors and things like that. So yeah, it was a far less organized affair.
Did you ever cry when those things happened?
I cry more now because we get like some of the stories we've had this year, for example. You cried the other day.
I cried. But yes. Yeah.
So this is for Jude and Nadia. What did it feel like joining in 2020?
Yeah, sure. It was an honor. I was obviously knew about the tour because we all worked at 5FM already, but it would only be you and your producer that would go. And now it was a whole team involvement thing, which was exciting. I think for you as well, because now you had like a whole bigger group of people going with. But yeah, it was just such an honor to be able to go on something that where we get to explore the country and meet these incredible people along the way and show South Africa's hidden gems. And it's just absolutely incredible. It's something that I don't ever want to take for granted. And I don't think I have in the years that we've done it. It's just been once in a lifetime opportunity.
It's a beast, yeah.
Yeah, when obviously, as Nat said, we knew about the Heritage Tour before joining Drive. And when I joined Drive with this team, the first thing I thought of was, oh, we're all gonna go on Heritage Tour, because it's just an exciting thing. Being a South African and not seeing most of the country, I found this a very good opportunity to learn more about our country, and I have since going on the first one in 2020. There was like a scary element to it in that we did it during like the height of COVID in 2020.
It was a full-on pandemic. It was level 4. Wasn't
Yeah, it was still masks everywhere you go. Some of the places that we wanted to visit were closed because there was nothing happening in the country. But it was all exciting for me, yeah.
What's crazy for me is to see how radically different people in different parts of the country treated COVID.
Yes.
So you go to some towns and it literally looks like something out of a post-apocalyptic horror film. Like everybody is, basically wearing the PPE, like as if there was an Ebola outbreak. And then you go to other towns and it's as if there was the opposite of a pandemic. Everyone's actually got like extra immunity. People just walking around like licking each other. But it was
They want to hug you.
Yeah,
And you're like, no.
And you feel horrible because like someone comes up to you to give you a big hug.
Yeah.
And it's hard to sort of explain, like, you're fine. It's the fact that you might have a virus in you.
There's this thing happening, I don't know if you're aware, but we don't do hugs anymore. Yeah.
COVID. But you remember, like, all the hotels that we stayed in 2020? So we weren't going to go for the longest time, by the way. Like, they actually, I think it's safe to say, like, there were a lot of people higher up that didn't want us to go. And I think for good reason. Like, I mean, there was a pandemic.
Safety. Yeah.
So I fought really hard. I was like, this thing can't die. This tour cannot not be 6 years plus the 1 year that didn't happen. To get it to be the point that it's at now, we had to go. So we fought really hard. But like, it was really weird because often we'd stay in hotels, there was no one else there. Or we heard stories from businesses all over the country that were like shutting down because they hadn't had anyone come in for like 6 months, and we met people who were on their last legs, like desperate. It was a desperate South Africa that we saw, which I think also made us realize we had to do the tour that year, because if we didn't go and put the spotlight on these places and give people who listen to the tour an opportunity to like hear about the importance of supporting local and visiting the country, I firmly believe there's some businesses that we saved from going under because they got the spotlight.
Yeah.
How do you feel COVID sort of, do you think COVID changed the way in which we broadcast? Because I mean, you were doing it before COVID happened, so doing radio from the road was already a thing. But do you think going through COVID made it even more something that we got better at?
So I don't know if for people that it's really hard to do these tours technologically speaking, and COVID actually helped tremendously with that because radio was at home for like you when you were doing student radio.
Yeah.
You guys pretty much did your formative years through the early doors of COVID.
Yep, 100%.
So same story for us. In that we were at home. The Drive team did the Drive show from my stoop for like a year.
Yes.
Yeah,
And,
literally.
And so technology got really better, and we got more adaptive. Like the first time that we did a travel radio thing, it was an iPad with a microphone plugged into it, and we connected on Skype. Now there's like these voice over IP protocol browser-based programs that are free called Clean Feed that we use, and I think COVID accelerated that massively, I reckon. Taledi.
Ooh.
So you join in 2023, you walk into this thing that's a beast. It's like, I think people talk about the tour as one of the biggest things that happens in radio. It's up there with, the biggest icons in South Africa. This is like a staple for people now. It's like turned into this beast. And and you walk into it at this point. But I imagine that that's really exciting and also like a little bit intimidating in some ways as well.
Oh, yes. I think the intimidating part of it is very real. We were actually kind of speaking about it last night at dinner, like imposter syndrome. Like, it feels like you're living a dream, but in the same breath, you can't live like you're in a dream because it's real life. So you're trying to maneuver around everything while psychologically you're just freaking out, but you're also excited. So it's like you're excited that you're freaking out. And they say if you don't freak out, it means you don't care. So I just keep having to remind myself that, wow, I've got this opportunity, this honor, not only to be with people I would consider legends, but also have fun and actually see the country I live in. Like Jude said, living in South Africa all my life, but I've barely been anywhere. I've lived in Gauteng for a long time, in Mpumalanga for a long time, but also in the same towns as well. I had never been to Ermelo, but I grew up in Belfast, just down the road, basically. I mean, that's what it feels like now to me, the way we've traveled. It just feels like it's down the road. So joining in 2023 was like a very huge adjustment period. I think it was more of a mental gear change because coming from the weekends, I was doing news and then coming in to do traffic. So that's also exciting. The fact that we're on the roads, seeing the roads that I've been talking about, it's just been amazing. Like I'm speechless even when I start picturing all the stuff we've done this week alone. It's crazy.
What did you guys feel about? I feel like Yanaka's just slotted in so amazingly, and it just feels like you've always been around. I think I don't know if I'm the only one who feels that way.
Yeah, 100%.
I agree. I don't think this is it's very exhausting at times.
Not Yanaka, you mean?
No.
the tour.
I mean the
She is so exhausted.
No,
She does not stop talking.
but to be able to handle the exhaustion and still be like you're a very bubbly person, to still be that bubbly person is, I think, fits in right seamlessly.
You see you find out who a person really is on these tours, because the thing is
Yeah.
you can't really hide. And the thing is, when we're at work, like our normal show every day, you can for 3 hours pretend to be somebody else. And especially because we're all performing, there is like an element of, well, come in, perform and do your thing. And also being in like a studio environment is it's heightened in a different way, So we're all kind of like work mode. It's impossible to not be. But then here, we're like in the bush now.
There's no show happening today.
It's like a camera somewhere here, but I've long since forgotten it was there. But like, you are who you actually are. Like,
Thank you.
No, I'm saying all of it.
Yeah.
But yes.
Thank you.
But what you really think about stuff comes out. You can't hide 30 days on the road, right? So it does take a lot. You have to actually really like these people. Otherwise, it wouldn't be possible.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Should we get another question?
Yes.
Okay. Someone wants to know what some of the scarier things that have ever happened to us on tour are. I don't know has anything happened on this tour, Toledi, for you? I don't know, because I think have you terrified at any point? We didn't know.
Scary, yes. I think I also told you guys when we arrived in KwaZulu-Natal at Umhlanga and our rooms were overlooking the ocean. And I was telling Jude, I was like, I could hear it the whole night. And when I woke up, it's the first thing I heard. It's just like, oh. So I'm very aware of the ocean and it terrifies me. So that was the most terrifying thing. I was like, thank the Lord, we don't have to go onto the beach just yet,
So next week we're going whale watching in Knysna.
Okay.
You stoked about that?
Yes, very. I'm very excited about it. I mean, I love the fact that it's something I would have otherwise never done. Also because of that fear, never mind because of opportunity or finances or whatever, but also because of that fear, there's certain things I know for a fact I wouldn't have done by myself, especially. So I'm super grateful for that, even though it terrifies me that we're going to be in the water and it's going to be all around us and stuff.
What's there's been some things.
I think I'm terrified all the time, to be honest. I'm so anxious. Like, everything we do, I'm like, oh no, what's going to happen? But that's specifically more the, like, sort of adrenaline-y stuff that we've done in the past. So, like, zip lining, because I'm scared of heights. So I remember crying before going zip lining. I will do it because I will get FOMO if I don't. but it scares me so much. I did sit out when Jude went on like a swing.
Gorge
Gorge
swing.
swing.
yeah.
I could
That was
not
cool.
do that.
I was gonna sit out with you, girl.
No, I
Don't
would have
worry.
died. I can't, not literally.
You had to go backwards as well. I
Yeah,
didn't
you had
do
to
it.
go
I'm
back
acting like I
first.
did it. I didn't.
I know. So
How was it?
that was one of the more enjoyable moments for me. That gorge swing.
What's the name of it? It's
It
not
was
skeleton.
Graskop.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, Graskop.
Yeah.
Did the gorge swing. Like it was fun. I seek adrenaline. It was very cool.
Thrill seeker.
But for me, one of the scariest moments, was coupled with one of the most beautiful moments. It's we went snorkeling in Sodwana Bay. I don't know, 2021.
2020.
Oh, that was
It's the
2020.
COVID year, yeah.
So we snorkeling, and this beautiful moment happened with the dolphin pod that came across us, like it met us there, which is why I got this tattoo. But moments after, there was obviously there was an instructor with us, and he shouted, "Shark!"
Yeah.
Yeah. But he was chilled.
He was super chill.
I feel like I'm in the water.
Yeah.
I feel like someone just said shock now. I'm ready to
You're in the
run.
Indian Ocean, you are on a boat, so the power boat has taken you out there, so you're not like, you can't swim back to shore, you know what I mean?
Yes.
You're in a coral reef that's out. You're
It's like
basically in
100
Mozambique.
300 meters out from land.
Shark.
But he shouts shark, but not to warn you. He's shouting shark for you to come and see.
Like,
Let's
ooh.
look at it. That for me was scary. I think the open water, like being in open water, like floating in open water, scares me a lot.
Yeah.
And then now this guy is adding sharks to the,
Yeah.
to the
He's
mix.
putting them in the water. You know?
Shame. To be fair, it was like this big.
And then I realized afterwards, but it was just that moment of him screaming shark. It made me panic.
Yeah.
And it was one of the scariest moments, yeah.
I've got a story that I can tell, but I'm going to leave certain details out just because I don't want this person to bother, like come and. But years ago, it was when the tour was just myself and a producer, and we ended up we thought we were going to go and interview somebody that was, in our mind, I think supposed to be a scientist. That's kind of how it was pegged for us. And we realized when we got there that we were being interviewed by a cult leader. Like I even Googled it afterwards, and I found out that this guy.
Really? Like an actual cult
legit.
leader?
Well, I don't think he would say that, but like that's what the news articles say, you know. And I started, when we realized it in the interview that this was who, because obviously the first thing you go is, okay, we can't use any of this audio because this person is just talking the biggest load of, you know, like talking about bizarre. I really don't like. Okay, so even when it happened, like I got like harassed by this like for a while. So like I don't want to say anything that will heal. I feel like he listens to our show every day,
Yeah,
or she. Let's go with that.
Yeah.
I feel like she listens to our show every day. But what happened is when I realized that this is what was going on. I'd also remember that like we were given this weird tea when we walked in there, and they'd taken all of our details, like name, first name, cell phone, which we thought was just normal because
like you
it's a
sign into
scientist and
places.
you so that was pretty terrifying. I remember we got out of there pretty quickly.
It sounds like the beginning of a movie.
Yeah.
Get out!
You got this weird tea at the beginning. Don't know what's in
Get
the
out,
tea.
man! I'm
yeah.
telling you.
So been in some like not weird, but like pretty hostile, in my view, religious settings. We were somewhere in the north once, and there was like an exorcism type thing going on that was pretty gnarly. Because you know when people start getting in that frenzy, you kind of wonder,
What's going on?
is this gonna? Yeah, are
Sure.
people gonna? Mob mentality, and everyone's kind of excited and screaming
Yeah.
at each other and jumping
Energy
around,
is
and
high.
energy's high, right? So you kind of feel like I'm not so sure. But I think without doing that, without sort of having for me, what's really important is that most people, I feel like most Africans are very scared of like other South Africans that aren't their own communities.
Yes.
And I think one of the things that's coolest about this tour is that South Africa is, yes, on paper, and don't get me wrong, like South Africa is a dangerous place, but communities aren't inherently dangerous. Like for the most part, people live in areas, you know what I mean? And if people live in places, those places need to function, and places have to function without crime. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like people have to be able to interact with each other and get to and from work and drop kids off at school and everywhere. And I think the more time you spend in places that don't look familiar to you, the more you enrich yourself as a human. And I feel like when we put those stories on air, it's better. Someone from the Eastern Cape that's never heard of Polokwane, that might have a view in their head about what Polokwane people are like, or Cape Townians versus Joburgers, or people in the Northern Cape versus everyone has like some idea about another person until you go and you showcase them. And then if the braver, but like the more willing we are,
The more we can showcase.
more we get out.
Yeah, South Africa.
How's about another question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so, I know I'm going to skip around a little bit here. Someone wants to know who is the most on time. It's Jude. Yeah.
No doubt about it. No question.
I have this thing where I have to be on time because I don't want to disappoint anyone. If the plan is to leave at a certain time, I'm going to be ready at that time. Even if there is someone else that's late, I just don't want it to be me. I don't want to be the reason that we're late for something. So I'll be there no matter how I'm feeling, like I'll get up.
Sorry, yeah.
And it's funny because sometimes when I need to be up early at home, I like snooze a lot and then I oversleep. But on tour, like I feel like there's not a pressure, but like I don't know how to explain it. I need to
A
be
drive.
there. Yeah, a drive to want to be early.
You've never overslept on tour, hey?
Not that I remember. If I did, like I still managed to be on time, which means like I cut something out of my morning routine.
Yeah, people might find this interesting. So if we have to meet at 6, which is pretty common on the tour, you are up at 5.
Yes, I always give myself an hour in my room.
What are you doing with all that time?
I call it waking up properly. So when I just wake up, I have this routine of making the coffee that's in the room. Sometimes it's not great coffee, but I have it anyway. It's part of the routine. And the shower, pack my bags, check the weather for where we're going, what clothes I'm going to wear, and all of this wakes me up properly. And by the time it's time to meet, 5 minutes before 6, I'm awake, concentrated and ready to tackle the day, yeah.
Amazing. Okay, another question.
Do you just roll out of bed?
No,
I'm at that stage right
I'm
now.
curious.
I don't want to lie. I'm at that stage right now where I'm just like, oh, it's very early. Every day.
Yeah, like I know I don't like you'll both have more stuff to do than me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's why I quit on the makeup.
Okay.
For now,
I
we'll
can't
see.
tell.
I haven't because we're filming every day, so like I don't want to look terrible.
I think you guys have more routine than me. I pack my bag the night before. I lay my clothes out. That's it. So I wake up, shower, brush my teeth.
Get dressed and go.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Sleep naked so is that like I don't have to pack those clothes back into the bag.
That's so
because,
smart.
No, it saves a bunch of
A lot
time.
of time, yeah.
Because the suitcase is so packed that like so I sit on the suitcase.
Oh, me
To-
too.
I
to
straddle
close it.
my suitcase and
Yeah.
zip
You do that-
under my leg.
You do that naked as well, because the clothes are in there.
Well, I don't.
Don't touch Nick's bag.
No, I don't like roll over the suitcase and like make a whole thing of it. But I close it. It's more like my arm that's leaning on it.
Ah, I see.
And then I zip it closed and I go to bed. I feel like I'm saving a solid at least 10 minutes every day by doing that.
Oh, yeah.
And you can adjust the temperature in most rooms. So
That is
depending,
fair,
you know.
yeah.
Yes, you can.
But you guys have got like all kinds of other stuff
Yeah.
to do, huh?
Oh man.
I usually give myself an hour as well, but I'm not as chilled as Jude. I need that hour, so I literally, I wake up, shower. Hopefully, I've washed my hair the night before and already blow dried it and everything, because that takes an hour in itself, literally. So I will try and do that in the night before, so that when I wake up, it's already done. But I'll have a quick shower and brush my teeth and everything. Get dressed, check the weather. No coffee or anything in the room. And then makeup, I guess, getting dressed.
Yeah.
Takes
flip.
an hour.
Yeah, to be fair, mine's like a 15-minute kind of thing. We did 7:30 this morning. I woke up at 7:15.
Yeah. I love sleeping. I'm known as a sleepist. If I get a chance, I will sleep. So whenever we have a late night, I already know I'm giving up on my morning routine just so I can get more time to sleep. and then I wake up and I have to rush, which leads to me being the last one to arrive all the time,
It's the worst.
even with no FaceTime.
And the most bags, maybe?
Yes,
Possibly?
100% right
Fair.
now. And I tried to make it a mission of mine not to have the most bags, so I brought a suit pack. But that suit pack has like 3 hangers and other things in it, like my side bags.
Yeah,
and-
you're rolling, dude. You go.
Yeah.
I don't think I even need to do laundry, TBH.
Can I
don't
just
think I
say,
need to.
like, I'm so impressed. Like when we all came together to leave for the tour, and I saw Yonaka, and she brought her bags and another bag, and then she brought this
The suit
suit
bag.
bag with hanging clothes. I was like, what?
I'm also the only
And-
person that brings.
An iron.
That's
What?
smart, yeah.
I
You
have
have
an
an iron on, like, in the
Yes.
car right now.
100%. It travels with us everywhere. I actually said, like, if anyone ever needs to iron, let me know. My mom watches us, so if I ever shop in a video with creased clothes, she'll be like, girl. Yeah.
Why did you take this iron?
Like, don't make me look bad. What's wrong with you? I taught you better.
I've got a weight in my bag as I'm trying to gym.
Oh,
Whoa.
Oh, seriously?
No, there's like a 5 kilogram weight in my bag. It's in my
Do you want
back.
to just carry my bags later?
You could just use our bags to gym, you know.
So what do you choose at the breakfast table / buffet? Well, so I'm the least. I don't have breakfast, so
Yeah.
I have a cup of coffee.
Sure. My routine has changed over the years during the tour. I used to, like, generally when I'm at home, I'm not a breakfast person. I don't eat in the morning. But on tour, like, I don't know when there's going to be an opportunity to eat again. So I think one of the earlier tours, I used to have a hot breakfast every day, like an omelette and bacon, but like every day, and it got a bit heavy. So I changed it up a little. I was inspired by Nuds. Have like a little yogurt, some muesli, some fruit. I think that's like the best meal. I don't think I've had a hot breakfast on this current tour
Yeah,
yet.
no.
Or I tried to.
It
the
wasn't
one
good.
time. Yeah, so that's right now it's yogurt, muesli, and fruit.
One thing I'll say. So part of the reason also I don't have breakfast. I don't fully know why, and I've been to a dietitian, but I have like a slight. It's like one of these. Not like IBS, but it's like a related sort of thing. And so sometimes if I gotta go, I gotta go. And not when you guys have been on the tour, but there's a time in Durban where I had to stop the car on the highway during morning rush hour traffic and go behind a bush on the M4, just outside. This is a true story. Just outside of the city. And so,
Numero 2.
yes.
Please tell me you had tissues or something.
I did. Like I wasn't completely savage about the whole thing, but like,
Please.
but it was like it was obviously frightfully embarrassing because it wasn't actually
Yes.
on a tour. It was on like it was like a client thing, so like sponsors and stuff. And but it was either that happened or it was going to happen in the car.
Yeah.
So I
It
had
was- it
to.
had
So
to
I'm like
happen.
so cautious. No, I mean, it's funny.
Now.
Yes.
glad you can
Looking
laugh
back,
about it.
yo.
I'm so conscious of if we're going to be on a long drive, like what goes into the soup of my system because
Right.
Oh, that's very smart. I should think about that. Because I'm a 2 breakfast kind of gal. I do the hot breakfast and the cold breakfast. Start with the hot and do cold as a dessert. So I'll have the eggs, the bacon, the rashers. And because I feel like I need to be filled up again, like Jude said, you never know when we're going to eat again. So I find that having enough in the morning can sustain me for the day. Then at the end of the day, I can have another fat, meal.
I'm with you. That is super healthy. Even like every tour we've done, you don't eat like lots of bad. You're pretty good all round, huh?
I try, I guess. I don't know. I like healthy food. If I don't like. Well, I
feel
mean,
better.
I take like
Have you ever had
the
like, triple
muffins and the
cheeseburger?
croissants.
So good.
Yes. I love like the muffins and the croissants and all of those things. So I grab those too, which is not healthy either. But I go for the cold breakfast, the fruits and the yogurts. I think I struggle to eat early in the morning. I like to wake up a bit first, but because of the like rush usually that we have, and we wake up extra early as well, like not actually hungry yet. So usually I just have a bit of light food, I guess. Grab some muffins for the road and a coffee, and then, which I'm also wary about sometimes
Oh,
because
dude, yeah. You're gonna be on the M4.
yeah,
like
we're going to
me.
be on the highway for like a while road, and you never know when you're going to find a toilet. or a clean toilet either.
Oh.
So that's also
Scary.
a thing. But yeah.
All right, we've got another question here. Have you ever missed a show or come close to it? If so, how close?
Yo.
So yeah, like
Like
a
this
lot.
week.
So close. This
This
week, you
week it
think?
happened.
This doesn't
Guys,
even
it gets
what is
worse.
what
It
is
gets
your
worse.
impression of a bad
No, like,
close
okay,
call?
so it's like almost news time. Cool, Nadia sorted, news is there. But we don't have a connection to the studio. And then we just started pre-recording links.
You're not
It was,
you're not.
I was like, whew, almost didn't make it on
No,
time.
no. I mean, sure, yes, but we are desensitized, beaten and bruised, and long in the tooth with this. What is the worst?
I think the Tanine.
Yeah.
Tanine,
Almost
yeah.
That's what I
TLC.
was
Yes,
saying.
there's a place we call
Tanine is-
TLC.
Yeah.
It wasn't very tender, loving, and caring. But yeah, we were on the road to Tanine from.
You're going through. So Polokwane is interesting in the sense that like
Yes.
it's super dry and arid, and then suddenly it's not. So suddenly, because you're getting closer to the eastern part of the country, which is more tropical, and as you transition, it just rapidly changes. So you go from like dry, arid, thorny bushes, and then suddenly you're surrounded by like misty lakes and rolling hills and trucks that don't move when they drive on the road, and you can't. It's those narrow lanes that you can't.
Can't overtake.
Twisty.
Yeah.
Twisty roads,
You
also
can't.
steep inclines.
Trees.
And then they have
Yeah.
to gear down.
Logs.
Yeah. They're in no rush.
Abnormal length.
Yeah.
There's
got-
the demand for paper is not strong enough, like for them to be in any rush.
Yeah, we got stuck behind many of those trucks on our way to Tanin. And we were already running late, but it just made us so much slower. And it was so stressful because the time was ticking. And I think eventually it was like half an hour before our show. And
Or
we
that
were still,
your maps is going back. It's saying
Yeah.
arrival time,
It-
1:15, 1:45, 10:45, 5:45.
Man.
eventually, so usually I receive the news in my email because SABC has news writers and compilers send it to us.
Everyone thinks Jude writes her news.
Yeah. But I kept checking my emails, hoping is the news coming in yet? Because by this time it was already 10 to the hour.
We hadn't.
We were still on the
We
road.
were still on the road.
We were still
Yeah.
driving. Still, I don't know how we're going to read the news. But eventually I received the news at 5 to the hour.
Yeah.
Started reading through it really quickly. And we arrived at the place at 57 minutes.
Yeah.
So there were 3 minutes to go, I think. it
Set
was,
up, connect.
before the show
In
started.
3 minutes.
3 minutes,
We
yeah.
did it.
Ran to any table we could find.
That is not, what?
Set up everything,
No,
pulled everything out of the
no.
bags, connected with, I think,
I
9.
did-
I just saw you see that whole thing.
Yeah, you become a real asshole to people as well because you're just like
Yeah,
these
get out of my
don't-
way.
Yeah.
Yo.
I think we connected to studio 3 set.
30
the person in
seconds.
studio was we're going live.
Yeah, it
Right
was.
now.
I think it was 30 seconds.
I think it was shorter.
maybe.
It was a thing of connecting and then there's 10
Yeah, you're
seconds
live.
of the song.
How-
left.
yeah, and
Yo, that was
we've never
stressful.
missed a show. We've never been late
Yeah.
somehow. We've
Right.
been driving in the car, doing it, but we still did it. Like
We
as
still
in
did the
we're
show.
in the car, we're busy driving to the location.
Just so you know, if that ever happens on this tour, I will definitely cry. I'm a crier. I will cry, but I will soldier on while crying. Yeah.
The other thing also is that you can't run too much because when you get on air, you're going to be like the news. So it's walk briskly, but don't breathe too heavily, and then get there and read.
Control.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got one more question here. Do you guys want to go? Do you want to go funny? Do you want to go personal, or do you want to go South Africa-esque? What do you want to do?
I want to do personal.
You want to do personal?
Anyone else?
Yeah, why not?
Okay. So let's go. What is the best jewel you've had whilst on the tour?
Oh, that's easy. When we went out for Jude's birthday.
Like
That was amazing. And then we did a location too, and it was a vibe because that location too, they were playing deep house, and I felt like that's the closest I'll get to an amapiano scene on the tour.
That was location 3, no?
technically speaking. 'Cause
Yeah,
we had
technically
the-
speaking.
And then we tried to play
yeah.
10th
See,
and
fun was
bowling.
had. That's
we
what,
went-
that's what I'm gonna say. Fun was had.
We thought that the music was in a parking lot. We thought it was like a taxi in a parking
Yeah,
lot, and then we were
like-
like, but there's lights.
and then we
and there's
started hearing
people.
more things.
And it was in Polokwane, and it was like a deep house, like a 40-something jewel.
Yeah,
I-
Grootman music.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I quite enjoyed that.
But there was a lot of people trying to come around. It was just guys.
Yes, they were just
There was
men.
like 2 women there, and you
Yep.
could see them like,
One of them was Yonaka.
It was so funny. No, fun was had there. Fun was had.
The best jaw I've ever had. So my birthday on this tour was amazing, but like in terms of like jaw where I felt a bit gross the next morning. There was a time in Klebeja, a couple of tours ago, we went to a Chisenyama spot. And we had a good time. We ordered like a lot of platters. We were well fed, and well drunked up, I guess. I think we went to town, and I really enjoyed that time because this Chisenyama spot was like in the harbor as well. It was like the location of it was awesome. I think it was windy.
just them about the sea, yeah.
Yeah, it was windy because
Klebeja's the windy city.
exactly.
Thought it was just like a branding thing. I didn't realize it was super windy there.
But I think that being in that environment was so party-esque. I did feel gross the next morning. I think I slept in the car. And it was a long journey the next morning, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And I slept most of the
mornings,
way.
4 hour, 5 hour drive. That's the short
I
one.
think that might have been like a 6-hour drive.
I think so, yeah.
6-hour drive to the next city or town. But yeah, that was I had a good time.
So best, it can be a dinner, party, anything.
I'm trying to think of a different one now. That was
You
actually
could be
mine
the
as
same.
well. Okay, yeah, it was Rebecca as well. Honestly, I don't think we actually go out
Yes.
that much because we have to wake up so early and we're working all day. So we go out for dinner and stuff, but to actually feel free and go out and
I think
be
we-
able to have some drinks and
We
whatever.
partied that much.
Oh, we
yeah.
partied.
We let loose.
I think we danced even. Like
Yes.
Yeah, there was
that
some
doesn't
dancing.
happen a lot. Yeah. So
Gyrating and such.
it was fun, and the Chisanyama was so good because it was like this big, I think it was like a big platter thing,
Yeah.
and everyone was just going for the food, and it was just such a vibe, and the people around us were fun. I also had a lot of fun. I also didn't feel good the next day. I remember.
I get used to wearing these hangovers, but as time ticks on, it's my prowess is fading. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I wear it hard now. There is and also if whenever you watch this, like literally even now, right? So we've been. It is the weekend. We've been going since early this morning. We've done some amazing things. Like we're in the middle of a 4x4 trail, which was just the coolest thing ever. The car was tilted on its side at some point and like
Balancing
damn near
on 2
vertical.
wheels, yeah.
And we did this because we really thought it would be a cool opportunity to go behind the curtain. And these are the conversations we're having all the time in the car. You know,
Yeah.
we're on a road trip, and obviously there's other people with us, like whoever's filming this and producing this. And but we are now. What is happening around us now is people are starting to bring plates, and there's a fire going, and we're about to chow. We're about to braai. So we will leave you here.
Yeah.
But I hope that this has been fun for me to do.
Sorry, did you mention your best draw? I just want
No, I didn't.
Just before we go. Sorry.
So my best draw, it can be like over all the tours.
Over all the tours, yeah.
I remember there was one time, it was in KZN, it was actually the first tour in 2017. It was on one of the first nights. We arrived late. We didn't have a cool car sponsor at the time, so we were in a good old SABC car. We got lost in like a game reserve, so that we knew there was like game around us, and we had to get out of the car because we got stuck on rocks and things like this. It was a huge panic, and we were stressed out. We eventually get to the lodge. The lodge laughs because they were like, "We've been looking at you guys for the last 2 hours from up on the hill, just watching you panic and struggle." So when you kind of in that headspace, you're like, "I need to eat and I need to drink now." So we start doing that, and we start to get to meet the people that work at the lodge. And so the Battle of Isandlwana attracts a lot of like historian types and people that are very interested in battle history in South Africa, like globally. So there's massive Zulu interest, there's massive British interest, there's just South African interest generally. So the people that are there are they're passionate historians, and there's huge debate as to what happened where, because a lot of the information was oral from that time. And within the Zulu tradition and history, there's disagreement in what happened. Within the Brits, there's disagreement with it. So when you get really drunk with all these people surrounded by the battle site, they want to argue with each other, but they're super educated. So the argument isn't like divisive and mean. It's fascinating and interrogative, and you're wrong because of this, and just like the drinks clinking everywhere. And I was like, if this is the tone that we're setting this tour off on, it's going to be amazing. And the next day, with a violent hangover, we went and we walked up the battlefield and saw it all in action and remembered some of what they'd said. And yeah, that for me was my best tour, I think.
Wow.
Now you can say goodbye.
Now I can say goodbye. So I suppose goodbye.
Goodbye.
This is 5FM.